And we're up and running. All right, everybody, you guys know what it is. It's the one and the only, the American Cholo podcast, broadcasting live and direct to you from where? From North Hollywood, California. My name is Gil, and I am the American Cholo. And we got a banger for you today, man. I've been looking high, looking low, trying to find this gentleman. He is the man behind Info Savage. He is also the executive director of operations for GAYS against Groomers. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Frank Rodriguez.
Hi, thank you so much. So just so we're clear, I'm the former director of...
Oh, they kicked you out or what?
No, I'm running for office, so I had to...
Oh, is that what happens?
So I had to leave to focus my time on that. So I'm preparing a campaign and getting ready for that.
Okay, well, we'll get into the campaign, I'm sure. But, you, I think, as far as I seen, you made a lot of noise. I think it was I don't know if it was a TikTok video, it was an Instagram video. It was just a viral video of you speaking. Was it at a school event or was it a city council event when you were one of the first ones you started doing, because you started doing many more and they all kind of started going viral?
Right, yeah. So one of the beginning ones, one of the largest speeches that I did, I was actually in Poway Unified School District, and I advocated for any teacher that had a pride flag in their classroom should be fired and arrested. And that's the video that kind of got over 300 million views.
Wow.
Just on what I saw, but there was tons of accounts where it's gotten tens of millions of views outside and people reposting it. And it really, I call it the speech that shook the world, because I don't think people really understood that my perspective as a gay man, a conservative gay man, advocating against these things happening in our education system. And so when I finally spoke up and just said what was really on my mind and how I really felt without any safeguards in between that, it really shocked everyone. I got a lot of support, some hate, but a majority support from parents all across our world, from abroad and here in the United States, and of course locally as well.
Now, is there something in particular that made you get up that day and go to that place? Was it something that kept happening, or what was it that drove you to go and start speaking out? Because, you are getting a lot of hate for it as well from your side.
Yeah, so before, my advocacy, I've only been doing this just over a year now. I was a comedian, so, having an online presence.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I did tons of skits. Like I was, Biden's press secretary. I would do those types of things, green screen myself, and there was very honest and comedic with the facts that was happening, so people can, be able to divulge into this without, throwing up too much. But after I started seeing the decline in my community, it made me want to speak out in last June of 2022. And ever since then, I've just followed down a road of where the issue lies, and the issues lie in our education system. And so this all just started with wanting a reform for my community, and just ended up advocating to protect children against my community and what we're doing.
But isn't that like a double-edged sword? Because some of your community believes that you're going completely against them, but it's not. You're just trying to advocate for children and parents to have rights, right?
Right. Yeah, I think there's a huge misconception with the LGBT community that parents are some sort of a danger to these children.
Right.
And so when I started seeing that and this trend starting to come about, as a gay person, I want to be able to empathize with this narrative. I don't agree with it, but I want to empathize of where it's coming from. And so overall, my community is stemming, in my opinion, from an overwhelming what I like to call closet trauma, and now they're projecting this onto the youth of today. Right. And but you have to also ensure that you're right. Look at the statistics and the data for the crime that's happening to these children. There's no wide scale, exodus of children, LGBT children, and their parents. So it's all of this closet trauma that's stemming really needs to be dealt with and not projected on. So I think that that's where my community's failing the most right now.
And do you think it's just a major overcorrection? Because it seemed like LGBTQ really started getting a lot of steam after the BLM movement, and kind of piggybacked off that and kind of pushed the BLM to the side and said, no, we're pushing our agenda. And it went from, and this is my opinion as a man, it went from an agenda of we want equal rights, we want to be recognized, we want marriage, which I, believe it or not, I'm all for. You want to get married, get your money. But it went to now everybody needs to think the way we think. That's the way I feel that the LGBTQ community is pushing towards everybody else.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Is with my community, one of the big things that people need to understand is if we're not being treated special, then we're being oppressed. So right now, my community doesn't know how to behave in a way where we're not looked at as special. When you look at a room full of gay people, traditionally the gay person or the lesbian, they want to stand out. And so they feel secured when they are the special person in the room. And so when you have a room full of people and you're not treating that person with, some sort of pedestal, then now you have just become oppressive and homophobic and transphobic.
That makes so much sense to me. I never. Then that's why I wanted to get somebody in here to talk. Like I told you, I have reached out to, I mean, countless, gay, lesbian, drags, you name it, that would sit there and call me, because anybody who's against or has a difference of opinion, let's say, because we're not against it, we just have a difference of opinion. A lot of times you get labeled a homophobe, a white nationalist, a racist, and you're a gay man here sitting saying pretty much what a lot of us say. So right. What do they call you and to try to, try to make people not pay attention to what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm allegedly a white Christian nationalist too, and I'm also homophobic as well. And so it's absolutely insane to me when you actually speak to these people as a gay man. You see them almost in a way disengage, but want to run away, because now those labels that they would use to safeguard their insecurities or inconsistencies in their arguments now no longer works. Now you have to come to the table with some sort of argument that can diffuse mine or, put yours in the right direction, because you can't really label me as homophobic.
No, you can't. Absolutely not.
Where do you go from there when that no longer works? And so now you're seeing the deterioration of this narrative, because more people like myself are starting to speak up and speak out. But most importantly, it's validating all of these parents that would hide behind those narratives. They don't want to be called homophobic. They don't want to be called transphobic. But the moment someone like myself or people like me, people from my community start speaking up, you start having validation now.
Yes.
And now those narratives against these parents that just simply want to take care of their children and protect their kids, and in most cases just want to be involved in what's happening with their kids.
Yes.
They can actually do that now and voice their opinions, because now you see that this is not a homophobic thing. This is not a transphobic thing.
Now, how is it that it went from, the equality to what we have now? And how is it that LGBTQ has so much power? I mean, they got the nickname, the Rainbow Mafia, because, they will put the fear of death into you if you say anything, especially if you're in the movie industry, if you're in Hollywood, anything like that. How do they get so much power that they're doing all the moves that they're doing, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I wouldn't be able to bring hardcore facts to this, but it's just overwhelming, in my opinion, a guilt that comes from the straight community. And I just try to empathize. I really don't know. But if I was a straight person today, around 50, years old, that oppressed the LGBT community 25 years ago, I would feel more obligated to speak for them today. And I would want to try to fight for them today in ways that I think are best for them. And when you have the narrative from the LGBT community, the mainstream media, and those around you pushing the same ideology, now you are forced to advocate in such a way that really hurts my community. Right. So now you have all of these, in my opinion, these guilty people that have gone to charge forward for the LGBT community. It's really doing a lot of damage. And so I would really love to see the straight community fall back a little bit. Let us self-correct,
and it would be nice, but I think it's very difficult, especially when you got mainstream media pushing that agenda. Anytime, when we went to the protests at the Capitol, or anytime you got parents speaking up, leave the kids alone type stuff. Oh, again, here comes the homophobe. Here comes the racist. Here comes all those comments into regular people who work a 9-to-5 job. They're scared to death to be put that, right? So how do we kind of sit there and help you guys out to get the message across that we don't hate gays. We don't care. I don't wake up in the morning and be like, oh, look, that's a gay guy. I hate him. Or that's a black guy. No, most Americans, I think, just wake up in the morning, go to work, do their lives, and come back. But I think how they're pushing it down our throats, for lack of a better phrase, it's getting where they are grooming children to go ahead and think the way they are. And you think I'm wrong by saying that?
No, you are 100% correct. Our educational institutions are put in place to groom your children. And if you're not careful, if you're not attentive to what is happening in your child's classroom, then you will not have control over what your child is going to believe when they graduate. And so, for instance, I can quote AB 1266 that puts in a policy in place and guidance that tells teachers, principals to hide records if your child wants to identify as transgender. So think about it. Your child's going to go to school and say, hey, I'm trans and I want to be called Stephanie. They are now instructed to take those files and lock them away from the files that you have access to.
That's to me as a parent, a grandparent. That's insanity.
It is.
And I don't understand how there's so many parents that actually agree with it. Is it they're just getting brainwashed into thinking about this?
I would think so. You know, I have a hard time thinking when I speak to these parents that you're advocating for such evil to happen to children that I don't think you're necessarily an evil person. You've been misguided and misled. And so how do you break that narrative? A lot of it is going to be met with resistance. And so they label you like what we mentioned about. So that's where they're kind of stuck. But then when you start having people like myself engage in these conversations, be put on platforms like this to offer a different, similar perspective worded in a way that brings more empathy, I think that that's where you start getting people to understand a little bit more.
Now, why is there such a push to do that in these schools to children? To sit there and you know read books that seem inappropriate. You're talking about Johnny and so you know having oral sex and,
right.
and I could see this in a junior high school level when we're actually teaching this stuff. But it seems like they're starting to get into you got third graders, fourth graders, even kindergarten kids having these kind of books. Why do you think they're pushing that in the schools?
Yeah, that's absolutely political. So like in Orange Unified School District, we have a conservative board that we flipped. And when you see how strong the teachers union is against what you were just talking about, getting rid of these books, I promise you the teachers union, the California Teachers Union, is pushing to keep these books in these classrooms. Your teachers union president will be involved in it. And these are people that have your 6-year-old, that have your 10-year-old, that have your 15-year-old, that put money and dues into this organization. And then they turn around and donate hundreds of thousands of dollars to your politicians and put them in place. The California Teachers Association donated over $100,000 to the senators that voted in favor for gender transition here in California.
Now, going to that topic, what is up with having children who aren't old enough to have a tattoo, old enough to smoke, old enough to drink, but you're old enough to make a decision to have, life-altering, hormones being put or taken out of your body?
It's insane. Like, just think about it. You have a 10-year-old that's coming up to you that wants to make a life-changing decision that's going to affect the next 50 to 60 years of their life, and we're just going to let that happen. And to me, it's like, how do you allow that child to make such a decision and then watch that deterioration happen? What is happening to these parents and why are they letting it happen? What is happening is every thing that you, like if your daughter comes up to you and says, I'm transgender, everything that you find online is going to be affirm.
Yes.
And you as a confused dad that have no idea what to do, you fall down that rabbit hole. And now you have these resources that tell you what to do that, in my opinion, are absolutely wrong. You have these places like Trevor Space where people try to use them as a gateway for a safe space for LGBT youth, which really is an avenue to groom your children even further when you deep dive into this. So there's a lot of misguided information out there that is presenting things in my opinion, too much of a positive light and not enough in reality.
Do you think that also social media plays a big role in this? Is because as far as I see a lot of like parents on TikTok and they got like 4-year-old kids and this is Susie now, and they start dressing them up and they seem to get a lot of attention. So do you think these parents also have an issue with that attention?
Oh, of course. When you put your child on a pedestal, because that's what the LGBT community is now. It's idolized so much that if you come out as trans as a kid, you're all of a sudden, seen as popular.
Special.
Yes, you're the special kid. At my school district, we just had a mom come to our district and testify that her daughter, who has autism, had a trouble making friends. But the moment she said that she was transgender, all of a sudden her daughter was accepted, had friends, and the teachers supported her. She got more attention from administration. And it's like, we can no longer do that. We see what's happening with these kids and seeing the negative results, and other countries are now falling in suit.
Well, I think it is. It's almost all the kids nowadays. I think what's pansexual? That's you don't pick a side, or
yeah, it's like I believe pansexual is like where you don't find. It's like where you find everyone.
How do you keep up with this stuff, man?
I don't. I'm gay, and I'm into guys, and it makes it very simple.
But hold on, what is a guy? You know, that's the crazy thing. You ask, when they ask that question, I forgot who that big podcast is that had that go crazy, and it's a simple question: what is a woman? And you have people, are you a biologist? Are you a doctor? Are you no? It's a simple question, and it seems like they're living in kind of a delusional world to a certain point. Do you not think?
It is delusion. By definition, is delusion. Calling a man a woman just simply because he puts a dress on and feels like a woman is affirming mental health. And I'm just trying to understand, where do we limit this affirming of mental health? Because if I'm schizophrenic, are you going to affirm that I see someone out here?
Right.
Are you going to affirm, if I'm anorexic, are you going to affirm that I need to lose more weight? Where does this line get drawn in the sand? And when you ask that question, that's where you start getting difficulties of being able to say, well, you're saying yes to chopping children up and giving them double mastectomies. If that's not the line, then we have a huge conversation to have.
Well, the ironic part is that 2 or 3 years ago, when the vid was going crazy in America, right, and they had it shut down, what was their saying on the left? Follow the science, follow the science,
right.
Follow the science. But now when you're asking, well, the science says you're a man. No, I'm a woman just because I feel.
You're not following the right science. You need to follow the science that agrees with me. That's what we want.
Yes, that's where we're at in America. But the problem also is cancellation.
Right.
In the United States right now, if you're not super woke, super left, and follow whatever ideologies that people push on you, whether it's LGBT or anybody else, they try to cancel you. Do they not?
For sure. Yeah, that's why I push so hard at this, because I work for myself. And so I have an obligation to be able to push back against this agenda, simply because, one, I have the protection of being a gay man, and two, I am not in fear of getting canceled for the things that I say, because at the end of the day, I'm going to speak this until the cows come home, and the only way to stop me from speaking is putting me 6 feet under.
Right. Now, gender dysphoria, that is a medical condition that's been around for many years.
Right.
Why is it no longer gender dysphoria? Now it's just you can identify as you want, and doctors, they don't label that anymore. They don't use that phrase anymore.
Yeah. So like for me, you have this span of time where gender dysphoria did produce a trans person, meaning, you mentally have a mental disorder that now needs to be affirmed through transitioning. They've taken that and moved it to where you just simply need to identify. And that's where the danger is starting to happen for these kids, because now you just simply need to say so and you will be affirmed, versus having to go down these medical journeys of not only mental health, but also physical health to be able to determine if you can or cannot. You go to your teacher saying you're trans and you're immediately affirmed before they be able to identify anything for you. So to me, it's an overdiagnosing of transgender youth for someone that's just simply gender nonconforming.
Yeah, right now, affirming yourself is something now is all the rage. It's all the kids want to do right now, right? And it definitely is influencing these children, because the number of gay people today compared to, let's say, even 20, 30 years ago, it's spiking through the roof. And to me, it's like, no, there's always been gay people. Some you didn't know, but a lot. I knew some of my friends' kids. Oh, yeah, he's going to be gay, but nobody really cared about it. But in today's world, it would be like, oh, he's going to be gay. We got to make him a girl if he's a boy, or if he's a girl.
It's the most homophobic trend I've ever seen in my life. You're going to take a feminine little boy and make him a girl.
Yes.
You're going to take a masculine little girl and make her a boy. It is the most homophobic thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's like in 2023, there is no such thing as a tomboy anymore.
Exactly.
Right? And tomboys, we've always had them. I was about to say we always will, but nowadays I don't know.
You don't know where we'll be in 10 years from now. If gay is just, old news now, I don't know, but I'm not transitioning. I have no intention.
You're old news, Frank. That's what I'm going to say. The gays are going to say, oh, Frank's just mad because he's old news.
Washed up now.
So, can you tell me about children that ended up, having surgeries, whether it's breasts, whether it's, cutting off parts, putting on parts, and later on in life, they realize this is not what I wanted. Does that happen?
Oh, of course. So in life right now, you're seeing this, ideology or this uprooting of our social construct of what a man and a woman is. And so we root that social construct in your biology, in your body parts. What we're seeing now is people wanting to shift away from that. And so when you have that, you have children wanting to affirm this, going through double mastectomies. Now, I'm not going to say that on a wide scale, children aren't getting bottom surgery. I know that I've seen one case so far, and I don't quote me on this, I think it might have been from Canada, not even the United States, where he died on the operating table. But as far as a double mastectomy for girls, that is definitely happening. Chalk Hospital, provides the gender affirming hormones to start that journey. And so there are kids that regret this. Chloe Cole is a huge detransitioner, and she speaks out. I've met her a few times in covered events where, within a 4-year time span, she went from being transgender, getting a double mastectomy, and now detransitioning. And in these 4 years, she might have lost her all sensation in her chest. She definitely lost the ability to be able to breastfeed her kids. And now her life for the next 50 years will be totally different. And I believe she actually has a lawsuit suing the doctor for not providing her the correct guidance.
Right. And why is it these doctors are caving in so quick? Are they just trying to make a quick buck and don't really care about the patient?
This is a huge money grab for the pharmaceutical industry. I believe it's 1.6 million per child over the life of them that they get if you identify as transgender. And so when you look at that penny, of course they're going to push this. Of course they want kids to transition. It's absolutely insane to me. And you have organizations like Planned Parenthood coming in and triggering that, planting the seed for that. And it's you have these teachers that affirm it, and this whole cycle here is truly damaging my community. And they think they're doing a good job.
Right. Now, when you go out, and you go out to, clubs and all, or just do dinner, and there's gay people there that you would know or frequent, do you ever get looked upon like, oh, that's that guy, or get pushback from your own community?
Yeah, so I get tons of pushback from the LGBT community. To be quite honest with you, I do not enter gay spaces unless I have a camera crew and security with me.
Really?
Yes, because I'm more in danger in a room full of liberal gays than I am in a room full of straight conservative men.
That's crazy,
so
right?
It is. And so for my safety, I make sure, because they do have a lot of hatred in their heart. They do have a lot of mental health issues. And so it just seems like the overwhelming majority of them can't communicate effectively and just want to cause violence.
Well, that's what we're saying in the green room, that to try to have a conversation with some of these people, it's like having a conversation with a teenager that just wants to scream and holler, and you're trying to get to the bottom of the root of the cause or the root of the problem and say, hey, let's discuss this. We may not have to agree with it, but it's always like a screaming match. You're just a homophobe. You're this, you're that, and you're not gonna get anywhere like that. So how do we sway the ship back into the center where it's not so far crazy to the left right now as far as the community goes?
To be honest with you, you're not going to change a lot of minds here in California. If you want to be able to protect your kids, the best way to do that is influence the community to vote for people that will do it.
Yes, sir.
But not only that, someone that actually has the strength to do it. Trustee Madison Minor from Orange Unified, removed a 22-year incumbent for her election and won by 222 votes. And she has the strength to be able to put forth policies that will put the American flag on our polls and nothing else.
Sir.
She's willing to put up a parental notification policy and put up a parental bill of rights, all of which have been implemented with her spearheading it in my district. So you need to be able to put conservatives in place that, one, have the same ideology as you, same belief system, but also have the balls to be able to do it.
Right. That's the thing that a lot of people just don't have. But I believe that pushing parents away from their children as far as being notified, I think that was a wrong play on their part. I think it's waking up a lot of parents to realize, wait a minute, what do you mean you're not going to tell me if my kid wants to transition, or if my kid's coming and he's a boy and he's dressing like a girl in school? That's the parent's the first person they're supposed to notify. That is the parent of that kid. But why is it that these people just keep on doing it? Just because the parents aren't voting them out yet?
Yeah. So for me, you have this trend with Democrats that screams of affirmation, that you need to affirm, or you're abusing your child. I believe they just passed a bill that mandates the courts to, look positively for a parent that will transition their child or affirm their child. And so it really raises the question, where do you limit these things? Because at the end of the day, if your child's autistic and they want to be transgendered, are you a bad father for wanting them to hold off on wanting to get medication and surgeries simply because the government is telling you that you're a bad parent, and now you have this system here that's working against you in California, which is why you're seeing more politicians telling parents to flee. And so when you get districts like Orange Unified, you have Sonia Shaw, the president of Chino Valley, amazing. She's speaking, I believe, in over here next week. So you have these presidents of all these districts, there's 9 of them, that have implemented a parental notification policy, which Tony Thurmond, our state superintendent, and Governor Gavin Newsom is drilling down people's heads, and our state attorney general, Rob Bonta, threatening these school districts to get them to stop. They've only sued one school district, and no one has been able to produce the law that makes it illegal to not tell a parent, or that to produce a law that makes it illegal to tell a parent.
Right.
And it's like, if it's not illegal, we have to tell the parent. And even if it was illegal, it's violating your 14th Amendment. Your children are your property.
Yes.
They are yours. You own your children. You're responsible for every aspect in their lives. And if their mental health care gets changed under the delegated duty of a school district, they have a legal obligation to tell you.
Amen. Amen. You're absolutely right. And to me, it's nuts with that, because Chino Hills made their decision. Other school districts are making the decision that they're going to tell the parents. And as soon as that happened, that's when the state of California said, no, we're going to sue you. We don't want that. Well, first you say you want the parents to get involved. The parents got involved. The district changed the policy because of the parents. So that should be it. But now it's like, yeah, it's tough, because you're fighting a lot of social media. You're fighting a lot of Hollywood elites. You're fighting mainstream media. You're fighting the state of California. And all the while, I'm looking at this, and before I'd be like, nah, dude, it's a conspiracy. But it's like they're really grooming kids to just follow this ideology. This is what you guys have to believe. And if you don't believe it, then you're going to be excluded from being the popular kids in school. And it seems like it's getting tougher and tougher in California, is it not?
Oh, it is, for sure. And it's getting more dangerous to be able to speak out. I'm going to be completely transparent about this. These people are starting to see a trend in the parental rights movement with these policies. School board members are starting to get elected. Presidents are starting to get switched, and these policies are happening. Yes. I'm a firm believer that it would be happening more, but you're elected every 4 years. So they're going to be voting differently in 2024. Mm-hmm. And come 2024, I predict a huge shift in school districts and more policies like this being put in place. I always say this to school board people that I consult with across our country. If you want to do something that's pro-parent and you're scared of a lawsuit, if the community is telling you to do it, you have no obligation then to face that lawsuit head on and spend the money, because the community is demanding that from you. Yes. And if we are demanding that from you, that means we want you to advocate and stand up for us. And so they need to do it.
Now, have you always been a conservative? Because that's also kind of an oxymoron, having a gay conservative, because, a lot of times you hear conservative, they go say, oh, those are the racial guys or the homophobe guys. So how did you transition into a conservative?
That's so funny. I
so you did transition.
I'll be honest with you, I've never voted Democrat. So I've always been a conservative. I grew up with a conservative father and a Democratic mother, but we never really talked politics. But when I started noticing, the downfall or the uprising and misinformation happening, especially like in, 2018, 2019, it really opened my eyes to realize there needs to be a reliable source of factual information, regardless if you're a conservative or Democrat. Because at the end of the day, I don't care if you call yourself conservative or you call yourself a Democrat, as long as you vote in the right ways to be able to protect our youth and do the right things for our community. I didn't choose to be conservative. I chose to follow the facts, the truth, and what is morally and ethically right. If that makes me a conservative, that is not my fault.
Right. So be it. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I vote policy over anything else. Right?
Exactly.
And that's what we should do. Now, let's rewind a little bit and talk about you as a young man. How old were you when you found out that you were gay, or you started being attracted to boys?
Yeah, so I first tried coming out when I was about 11 years old, tried to tell my parents that, I feel something different. I find boys attractive. I did try to date girls, and it just didn't happen. Now, when we talk about this, it's not full-on relationships. You have
Right.
these crushes at 10 or 11. And so, but I fully came out when I was 15, and I came out as bisexual. And it
Try
was...
to ease a bit.
Yeah, I was like, my mom, I remember we're Puerto Rican, so she was making some Puerto Rican food on the stove, and she's frying things up, and I was like, hey... I have something to tell you, Mom. And I told her, I'm bisexual. And then she was making platanos. That's what she was doing.
Platanos.
And so she just put them on her plate, got her sugar, and she said, okay, and went to the room and watched TV.
How about your dad?
My dad, it took a little bit more time for him to come around. When I fully came out, he was actually incarcerated. So when he did come home, he and I had a talking. I was a young man then. I'm in high school now. And he apologized. He understood. And we had a great conversation. And he supports me now. And what people need to understand is there doesn't need to be a 100% embrace from the people around you. Right. What you need to understand is if you're secure and happy with your sexual orientation, with your gender identity, the people around you shouldn't have to give you that validation. If my dad was to tell me he doesn't support 30% of what I do, that shouldn't affect my life. I should still want to have a relationship with him. He hasn't done those things, but I think my community spends too much time wanting 100% affirmation out of people instead of just meeting them where they're at and accepting them.
Right. Is that how you just got the tough skin, though? Was from your parents, or how do you? Because you got to have tough skin for what you're doing,
right?
So where did you get this, this bravado to do what you're doing?
Yeah. So it's so funny. I just met with my mom for lunch before this. She's
Shout
in
out
the
to your
area.
mom, man.
Hi, Mom. I always have to say hi, Mom.
Of course.
She's probably watching right now. I grew up with 14 siblings. So
Wow.
that alone is going to give me the strength that I need. We had one restroom and one shower.
And probably no TV.
If we did, the older kids got it, I had a very humbled beginning. I grew up in San Bernardino. You have to have tough skin in nature in these areas. And so when I go to Orange County and I advocate there, and you have these parents wanting to come up to you, yell you with your phone and stuff, and I'm like, it's scarier walking to the corner store at 10 years old at night to get a bag of hot Cheetos in San Bernardino than it is to sit across from you, lady. So for me, it's my upbringing. My mother raised a warrior. My father raised a warrior. They pushed us as boys to be able to be successful and strong in whatever it is that we do. And recently, my father just went to one of my events, and he spoke about that and talked about, we're Latino, we work hard, yes, and we're passionate. And I'm very passionate in correcting my community and advocating for kids.
Right, yeah, and Latinos, not even just Latino, everybody has gay family members,
right?
But I've got some. We go to the parties, the wives come. But it's not even a conversation where, oh look, she's with. No, we don't care. I think in today's world, people don't care. The good part that I will say, and there is about the LGBTQ, they put a lot of notice on the gay community and some of the struggles and all that, and I completely 100% agree that was needed. But it went from that to, now we're the dictators and we're going to tell you how you feel. I hear this a lot. I hear inclusiveness, right? That's a key word that's always used. To me, inclusiveness means you're going to agree with what I'm saying. You're going to fall in line with what I'm saying. And if not, I'm going to call you a racist. I'm going to call you a homophobe. Am I wrong?
That's, inclusiveness has been guised by compliance. Yes. Inclusiveness is no longer being inclusive of everyone, meaning we can all break bread at this table.
Yes.
We need you to comply now. And so this is where I say the closet trauma is coming into effect, because they want affirmation from you. Like, if you don't like me because I'm gay, I could leave this podcast and go home and be perfectly fine. But my community will obsess over this. They will want to defend themselves. Just recently, one of my advocate friends who's gay went on Jubilee, where it was liberal gays versus conservative gays.
I've seen that, yes.
Yeah, so he goes on there and he talks about being conservative. And these liberal creators who have millions of followers are obsessed that they were put in different places by a gay conservative. They obsess over the people that disagree with them. And it's mind-boggling to me because it's not healthy.
It's not. And the crazy part is you have some very intelligent people that fall into that category.
Of course. You have these therapists that I interviewed and speak to who will affirm what their client is going through because they don't want to lose their license. So just think about that. You have people approaching you as a mental health professional, and you can't give them the necessary antidote to their mental health issues. You have to affirm them or you'll lose your job.
That's the insanity. I had a teacher called me about 3 weeks ago. He's a high school teacher out of LAUSD, and he was telling me about the K, which is kindergarten to fifth grade. They were having classes about LGBTQ, and to come in there and talk about it. He told me specifically, he said, Gil, I'm gonna tell you something. 50 to 60% of the teachers don't like this stuff. They don't want to teach this stuff. They don't want to push this stuff, but we want to keep our jobs.
Right.
It's like those guys are so scared. He's like, it's the people on the top. They're just so radicalized, but they will not have the conversation with us. So how do we try to get those teachers to come out and speak up?
Yeah, so the first thing that I tell people is the teachers have a lot of power simply because of their dues to the union. The union funnels this money. For instance, in my district, the last school year, they'll collect $125 per teacher, and only $25 of that will go to your teacher that's taking care of your 6-year-old. The rest is going to California and the nation, where they can put in politicians that go against what you believe. And so as Democrats, if you really want, gender ideology at a school, you should probably stop putting into your teachers union, because that's where they're getting this funding from and putting these politicians in place. So to get them to speak out, the first thing you got to do is leave your union. But that's not easy. You have union presidents literally crucifying teachers in a way if they want to leave the union. And like our organization, I'm sorry, not our organization, our teachers union, Orange Unified Education Association, literally goes around and terrorizes the community. They will get in people's faces. They will assault people. They're trying to recall people off of our board, completely funded by the teachers union. So if you don't, and mind you, there's some great teachers out there that take care of these kids.
Absolutely.
Not all teachers are bad. A lot of teachers are oblivious to what happens. You think the union, they're here to protect me. Let me give them money. And I just want to teach art. I just want to teach math. I just want to teach history. And they don't get involved in this political game. But they need to be educated. They need to leave the union and understand what they're doing with their money. And so that's where you're getting a lot of this pushback is from the union. And so to have an antidote to that, the kryptonite for that, is to stop giving them money.
Now, what's your opinion on girls' bathrooms, boys' bathrooms, and you have boys who identify as as a girl, and all of a sudden are using the boys' bathroom in a junior high setting?
Yeah, that's absolutely wrong. You have these kids that want to use a locker room. It's insane to me.
Yeah.
We're allowing mainly little girls being forced uncomfortable. Where does that insanity end? Jessica Talpia from an Inland Empire school district refused to allow a boy in a girl's locker room. She got fired. Sean Redmond at a Garden Grove University refused to lie to parents. And he said, if they come out as transgender, I'm going to tell their parents.
Of course.
Fired.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And it's like these teachers literally will be removed if they don't comply. But if you have a conservative board that says you must tell the parents, Chino Valley Unified School District, their teachers union will push back and say the teachers aren't doing it, and you can't fire them.
Right, so that's how the power comes in with the parents helping the teachers, and it's going to take a community really to do it all, right?
It really does.
Now, you were on Gays Against Groomers on the site, and how long has that site been around on Instagram?
Yeah, so I left Gays Against Groomers about 3 months ago.
Okay.
But they've been in inception for, I think, like a year and 6 months now. I was there from the beginning and helped build the organization and structure it and expand, chapters all across our country. We got legislation passed under my tenure. We got tons of awareness and tons of interviews and really shook the world.
Yes.
And so it was a great journey and I loved everything about it. But with all good things must come to an end with your next journey. And so for me, I knew that if I really wanted to make a change, I need to sit in a seat of power because these straight conservatives are having a hard time passing these laws.
For sure.
So for me, when I sit at a dais and I say, I want the pride flag removed from classrooms, who's going to argue against it? Are the straight counterparts on my dais going to tell me that I'm wrong for that? They will, but it's going to be a discussion for the world to see now.
Right.
And so that's what I want. I want to be able to be in a position of power and really bring forth change.
So what are you running for exactly?
Yeah, so right now we have a conservative in our seat in my school board. So I haven't really announced this yet because we don't know if she's going to run or not. And so if she runs again, I will stick around.
What school
and
board is
support
this?
her. Orange Unified.
Okay.
And so if she stays, then I'm going to support her and I'm going to support my board. But if she decides, this is her year of retirement, then I will step up to the plate.
All right. Are you ready for all that?
Yeah, I mean, I go to them already. So, and I see what happens. And you know what? They're not going to tell me anything that I haven't heard worse over the 30 years that I've
Right,
been
but
here.
you're seeing the shift in policy. You're seeing the shift in school boards, right? That's starting to
Right.
go more conservative, and that's a good thing.
It is. It's a beautiful thing because conservatism isn't necessarily negative. Most people are conservative. Not
Right.
everyone is the type to go out there and, want to just bare their chest without any, coverage. Most people want to instill traditional, some sort of values, whether it be, your own personal conservative values or values that you deem traditional in your family.
What is it about pride festivals and the thing where, well, if you want to be naked, it's fine. I mean, seriously, I don't know. I'm a straight guy, so I'm trying to get that. What is it with the obsession of being naked and having children around?
I have absolutely no clue. This insanity, like, and then you go up, you see these videos where, like, why aren't the cops arresting these people?
Yes, they're naked.
It's like, wait. So if you're gay, you can be naked around children, and that's totally okay. Now, what if he was straight? Is it now wrong? Like, where's this line? For me, you should be fully clothed around children. You should be fully clothed anytime you're in public. Like, I mean, it's not that hard. We're not apes here. We've come from the Stone Ages. We have clothing now. We have jeans. We have pants. And so you see these people that want to expose themselves. This is disgusting. Yes. The Dodger Stadium, produced the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. One of them was just arrested for indecent exposure at a park. And so it's like you see right in front of your face these mental health issues before they transpire. But you're a bad person for bringing it to light and seeing it? No.
Yeah, I actually got a strike on my YouTube channel for putting up that video where you had the guys at I think it was in Seattle. They're all naked on bikes and they have little kids with them on the bikes. And all I put on my title was Happy Pride Month. Just to show what it was.
Look at you being so supportive.
And they gave me a strike. I'm like, wait a minute, why are you giving me a strike for indecent stuff? You have a 7-year-old little girl right there.
Right.
And they also flagged me for I bought one of the books to read in elementary schools, and I read it. I read the book. And this is inappropriate. It has to be 18 and over. I'm like, wait a minute. This is supposed to be for K to 7th grade.
Right. So you have big media companies saying that this is inappropriate for children, and yet you have school boards that refuse to remove these books from your kids' classroom.
And then I saw a gentleman about 2 weeks ago. He was reading one of these books, and he was escorted by the cops out of the school board meeting. He's like, wait a minute. These are the books that you're reading to our kids.
Right. And for the viewers here, I want you guys, while you're listening to this podcast, I want you to Google the book, This Book is Gay. And I want you to look at that imagery and notice how absolutely horrifying it is, because these are books that the Democrats refuse to remove from the classrooms. That pictures that you see, it's inappropriate for your channel. But if you guys look it up, just look it up on Google, you'll see these kids performing sexual acts in cartoon form. And you're looked at bad and homophobic for wanting to remove that from classrooms? No, you're a good person. We shouldn't want, pornography in our classrooms. That's exactly what this is.
But that's the agenda they're pushing.
Well, of course, because if you don't agree with these LGBT books, that makes you homophobic. And it's like, no. We don't even want two straight people having sex in a book. Like,
just period.
Remove all the porn.
Yes.
I don't care what kind of porn it is. Just remove it all.
Right. Now, what's the obsession with certain, I can't because I might have the drag queens beat me up when they see me. What's the obsession with some of the drag queens just having to do shows in front of children?
Oh, man. So I know I'm going to get some flack for this, but I'm going to say it anyways. So one of the biggest comments that was made by Kitty Demure, one of my supporters who I have a podcast with, and he said that, a lot of drag queens are high school dropouts. They make $50 a night. A lot of them do drugs. The overwhelming of them are uneducated. They're working at nightclubs, and then they're looking to get booked. They need a gig. They need the money, and that is normal in the industry.
They're strippers.
Yes,
they're strippers.
They're exactly that. You don't compare drag to an artist, a
ballerina
painter.
or something.
That's not the same thing. Like I call it burlesque for babies because that's really what it is.
Oh, burlesque for babies.
Yeah.
That, you know what, man? Hey, you're opening my mind to what a lot of the stuff's going on. They're gonna really hate on you. You're exposing the game to American Cholo. Like, don't tell this guy what's going on. So the drags are the strippers of the LGBTQ community.
Of course it is. Now, don't get me wrong. I've been to many drag shows. I've tipped many drag queens, and now I don't want to.
You're not gonna go to the show pretty soon.
But I'll go if they chill out for a second. You
Right.
know what I mean? If they stop doing. But right now I'm teeter-totter and never going again. But I loved a drag show. I would love going to the club at night at 21 years old and seeing a great drag show, giving them some money and seeing them take their clothes off. I do not want to see this with a 10-year-old right
you.
behind me. That is so inappropriate to me. And everyone uses this justification like kids see worse things at other places. And it's just, to me, you see this over-indoctrination with the trans community that now drag has lumped themselves in with that movement. And now they're being called groomers simply because of their art form. And really, if the trans community would just simmer down, the drag queens would have never been pushed back on. But
Right.
the trans community is forcing that. And I don't blame parents. You're not wrong for that. You're actually taken into your animal instincts of wanting to protect your kids because you know where this journey goes. So don't let them call you homophobic or transphobic. You don't take your kids there.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. Like with me, I don't care if you want to have a drag show. Get your money. It's America. You're adults. You can do it, and I'll get the same argument even from some of my own family members, like the younger nephews and all that. You know, they see worse stuff on the internet. Yeah, I said, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna come home and throw on a porn for my nephew and be like, oh, here, you can watch this because you can actually see this. No, it's called parenting. It's called doing the right thing. And if you want to do it as an adult, get your money. Just like I wouldn't have a Chippendales dancer come and dance for our children, I wouldn't want a drag show to come dance. But what's the misconnection that we can't sit there and have this conversation with a lot of people without, them just saying, no, you're just a homophobe.
Yeah, so for me, in my opinion, and like I bring up that closet trauma is like the root of this, it's also the overwhelming amount of gay people not having access to mental health care. So the CDC, one of the top reasons why my community has so much mental health issues is their inability to access mental health care. And so for me, you have a community that has that, and then 4 out of 10 are going to be addicted to drugs. You have half that think life isn't worth living, and a quarter thinking about committing suicide. You have this community that's screaming for help and structure, and you have a community on the opposite side of that just affirming everything that's happening with them instead of saying, hey, you know what? Maybe you need to go to therapy. You know what the way you're seeing things is very not right. You actually should go down that conversation. Like you mentioned, why is it that you can't get a gay person in here that thinks differently than you on this show? It's because they want affirmation. This is not a safe space if you don't agree with me. And my community is overwhelmingly wanting to be in these safe spaces when that's not what life is. Right. I can pick out 3 instances where I feel uncomfortable and I don't force the people around me to comply to my necessity to feel comfortable. That's narcissism. But you have my community that thrives on that's all they want to be around. And they get in these echo chambers of affirmation, regardless of where you're taking it. And now you're looked at as an enemy because no one else has challenged them to think so.
Right. What it reminds me of when you're saying about, them just agreeing, pushing, it's almost like it's the very liberal people, especially in California, like the drug problem. The drug problem's the same thing. You start saying, no, there's a drug problem. No, it's a homeless problem. No, it's a drug problem. No, it's a mental problem. No, it's a drug problem. No, it's like, the root of it is drugs right now. When you have all these people on the streets right now, it's drugs, but it's like they don't want to talk about it. I don't know if it's the big moneymaker machine that they're doing, like you said, the big pharma surgeries. I don't know what it is, but I mean, something's got to give, because if not, the next generation of kids, I mean, they're all going to be kids who are confused, don't know what sex they are, real gay people, mixed gay people. It's like everybody right now is, I got to be gay to be in the crowd, especially as a kid.
Also, so you can feel safe almost. Like you think of these kids that, I don't know, a straight white Christian kid going to LAUSD where they have 30 years queer all year or queer all month or something like that I went and advocated against. They are in fear. I get messages from children about how scared and bullied they are for speaking out, and it breaks my heart. I have parents in our district that are scared to put forth a conservative group, a club, because they're scared of what's going to happen to their children. So they have this ability to really make our side fearful. Right. And maybe that's why I speak out so much, because I want to activate people that says, you know what? If they key your car, you keep talking. If they destroy your home, you keep talking. You keep your voice impacting the public as much as possible, because that's what they want. They want you to shut your mouth. They want you to shut down. They want you to be quiet with any grasp that they can, whether it be going after your family, your finances, your property, or even you and your livelihood. You keep talking.
Now, have you had that actually happened to you? Some of those things
Oh,
you're
of
talking about?
course. Yes. So they've targeted my family. They've targeted my home. They've targeted my property. I've had to put a security system in place at my home and just take other precautions to ensure that my safety, because I practice exactly what I preach, because no matter what they do, I'm going to make sure that my voice is always heard.
And these are people that are supposed to be from your community.
Yeah, the loving and inclusive community of the LGBT.
Don't piss off the LGBTQ. The Rainbow Mafia ain't no joke.
You know, I call them the glitter gang. That's what I
Glitter
like to call
gang,
them.
Man.
Yes.
Throw
yes.
up the G.
That's funny.
The glitter gang. Huh?
Yes.
Hey, but they're dangerous. They're dangerous,
course.
and beyond dangerous, they're powerful.
Yeah, I mean, they have Antifa on their side with these events that they go to with these protests.
How does that work? They got Antifa, LGBT. I see that, but because Antifa is just a group that just they want to just. To me, Antifa is almost a group, and I'm sure Antifa get pissed off. It's almost like the gang rejects, and they just want to fight. And you ask them. I went to an event that they had in by City Hall, right? And it was a conservative event. I got invited, but I wasn't there for the event. I just wanted to see. So I went across the street. There was probably like about 12, 15 Antifa guys there. And I'm like, hey, you're on the wrong side. I said, no, I'm not on the wrong side. I'm on no side. I just want to see what's going on. I said, you guys Antifa? Yeah. I'm like, what do you guys want? Not one of them could answer my question. I'm like, I have a podcast. If you guys want to come on the podcast and express what you guys want to do and what you guys are trying to get done, the platform's there. They all stayed quiet.
Of course, you're asking them to defend a stance that makes no logical sense. And I've tried to debate this issue with some of my counterparts, because I try to offer a safe space. When I go up into these conversations, the first thing I say is, "I'm an LGBT advocate. Do you want to have a conversation with me?" And so they automatically think I'm on their side. And so if you go to like my YouTube channel, you see these conversations, and they're like, "Oh, he's one of us," and then 15 minutes later, they're like, "Oh, he's not one of us."
Yeah, then they start screaming, "Get away from us!"
Yeah.
I see that now. How do you prep yourself for these places? Do you say, "All right, they're gonna have this event over here," and then you start planning with your crew?
Yeah, so I love going to Pride event on the outside and being able to converse with people. I went to Utah Pride and went in the middle of there and was asking questions there. I went to Orange County Pride. I definitely have a security team and camera crew in place to ensure that we're able to at least have some sort of conversation. Ironically, I wasn't kicked out of Utah Pride. My counterpart was she was doing way more advocacy than I was. I was being very light because I want to have these conversations. Right. It's about bringing discussions back. Yes. And so while we love to tell them off and really, really shame them for what they're doing, I think it's important to, at least, this is the biggest part, is be empathetic to their stance, because you want to understand why they think that the way that they do, because when you know that, now you know how to attack this problem. And so for me, I just try to desensitize them with, I'm an LGBT advocate. Right. And I also bring up that, we want to build bridges with the straight community and the gay community. And straight people are just called homophobic if they ask the questions that I'm about to ask. So I want to be able to give them some reassurance and resolution before being labeled as such. And when I pair those things with the conversation is just automatically different. And I got people in Pride to agree with the Pride flag shouldn't be in classrooms, the parental rights and education bill in Florida, and most importantly, keeping parents involved in the discussion, all because I'm gay. Right. All because I approach the conversation in a way with more empathy and compassion instead of vitriol and anger.
Yeah, somebody like me goes in there, they put the wall up right away.
Yeah, and it puts you on a defense.
Yeah, they think that we're automatically attacking, but we're not. We're trying to have the conversation. But there is some guys on that side, on more conservative, they will attack. And
of course.
And that's what kills the conversation on both sides, right? People are just fighting. But it's gone towards, it's getting insane. Now you have people defending men in women's sports, men who identify as females. And to me, that's when I seen that. I'm like, where are we going with this? Like, is there no boundaries anymore?
That's a good question, because that's the question I want to ask them. It's like, where is the limit to this? Where do we say that men are different from women? Come on. And it's like, it doesn't take, we've known that since the Stone Ages, before we had electricity, before we had clothing, we knew all this. And now you look at our community, think about this. Like we were in a time where we would put cloths on to cover ourselves up. And now you have people wanting to take their clothes off in public as if we're barbarians, as if we're not a civilized, advanced society. Like, what other countries parade around naked? third world countries, countries that don't have what we have here in America. And it's like we're seeing this decline in our society of so much inclusiveness and not enough shame. Like, you need to be shamed if you want to be naked around children. You should be shamed if you want to be naked at the dinner table. You should be shamed for wanting these books in these classrooms. You don't need to be affirmed any longer. You need to be, your eyes need to open up that you're not doing it right.
Now, is it hard for like the actual LGBT community to see the lies that's from the left? Barack Obama was never for gay marriage. Biden was never for gay marriage. Hillary Clinton was never for gay marriage until like 2012. All of a sudden, we're here for gay marriage. They don't see that. They just want to get voted in.
Exactly. You look at the they call it, race baiting. They do sexual orientation baiting, where they tell you all these nice things, but at the end of the day, what policies are you putting in place?
Yeah.
What are you doing for my community? How many presidents have you seen fly a gay flag? Besides Biden and what he just had,
Grandpa.
Besides Biden, and that was a disgrace what happened on that White House lawn.
Oh my God! Right?
But you saw Trump hold up a gay flag during his campaign here. Meanwhile, just a few years before that, Biden was like, I ain't standing for this. And you look at the gay community and they hate people so much, and it's like you hate him so much that you won't even realize what he's done for us or what he wants for us. And so for me, I believe if I understand this correctly, before even gay marriage was legal, Donald Trump tried to strong arm his insurance company to provide insurance for domestic partners of same sex. What was Biden doing during that time?
No, he was going for the marriage act that's only between a man and a woman.
Right.
Yeah, people forget that he was also putting in all the 3 strike laws. He was trying to lock everybody up for the stuff his son is doing today.
Ironically, isn't that the left? They try to lock up everyone else but their own, right?
That's how it works. But I'm hoping that more people are waking up, and I think they are with platforms like yours, platform like ours, where we're having these adult conversations, and we're not sitting here just pointing fingers and screaming at people. We're here trying to figure out, how to bring the adults to the table, because right now it's like the lunatics are running the asylum.
Right. You get these people in policy. They say you can't have a free country. And in a way, it makes me concerned because I kind of understand why people say that. When you have a free country like America, where you're able to vote for people even in the smallest government positions and the highest government position, you put people in place that don't know what they're doing. That is why it's hard to have a free country, because we're voting people in place that aren't qualified, that don't bring value to the positions in which they have. In my district, Trustee Chris Erickson, advocated against the parental notification policy, deeming it illegal, when a judge just ruled that it's not. So you putting people in place that are not qualified to be in that seat and aren't using the resources available to them to ensure that they're making the right decisions. They are making wrong decisions for your children, for your country, and the most powerful and sacred thing is your vote, and you just cannot use it lightly.
Absolutely. So a little bit off topic. What do you think about RFK?
RFK?
Yeah.
The
guy running for president as well on the Democratic side.
I don't think I've looked into the Democratic politicians, to be honest with you. I'm looking into the conservatives because, you know what? I don't know what conservative I'm going to be voting for.
Right.
I voted for Trump in both elections, and I'm not ashamed of it. But I don't know if necessarily I would vote for him again. I am at a clean slate.
If he doesn't, well, even if he goes to prison, people still vote him in. I don't see the guy losing the Republican Party.
It's so funny. Log Cabin Republicans is a gay conservative group.
Okay.
And so we were at an event talking about this, and I just said, I don't know why they keep trying to press charges on him. Every time they do, he just grows and grows and grows. We just talked about this on my podcast. I think he raised over $7 million on that mugshot. $10 million on a mugshot. Like, I mean, come on. You're literally giving him his presidency at this point. And it's like they're not thinking logically. And Trump is an assassin when it comes to marketing.
Oh, no, they don't understand him because there's never been... he's not a politician. He's a developer guy who came in there and said, all right, I'm going to expose you guys for the dirtbags you are. And the best one was when Hillary talked about his taxes and avoiding. He said, all your friends do the same thing. Right. If you want those taxes closed, close them. And they won't close them because they use them as well. So I think Trump went in there and exposed the hypocrisy that's going on in politics. And I think they're trying to triumph in the state because that way he can't pardon himself, because he can legally be the president of the United States behind prison walls.
Oh, man.
and can technically pardon himself. So we're gonna be in a fun race in the next year here.
It is, your platforms like yours and mine are really going to look heavily for the right information. So
Absolutely.
it's going to be very interesting to see how these creators navigate the political world over the next year and a half. Because if you're just going to simply do quick little fact checks, you're going to get some of the things wrong. So it's going to be a Olympic of politicians.
Why is Biden still running?
Is I feel like he hasn't has he officially
Yes, no,
announced?
yeah.
That's a huge mistake.
Huge.
Like this man, like I don't know if he can do it, then why isn't anyone else? Is this the best we got? Think about it. Is this the most qualified Democrat in the entire country?
Maybe 30 years ago or 20 years. I don't know. I mean, the guy's he's old and fragile. And the last, I think it was like a G something summit they had, they cut him off. They literally cut his mic off to walk off because he was rambling off. And it's like, this is the guy you got running?
Yeah. And it's not even just him. You look at, what's his name, Mitch McConnell, freezing up. And I'm like, is this the best we got out of the conservative movement here, guys? Yeah. Like, where are our politicians? Where are the people willing to run? And this is my thing. They have this fear of you need to be the perfect person to be a politician. Yeah. And that's not our government system. Our government system was supposed to be ran by normal people. Right. And so you can be a businessman and take what you've learned there and be a politician.
Well, I think the issue is goes back to the woke, whether it's right or left. They don't want to sit there and say, man, you're too old. And they are too old. They're too old.
Very much so.
I think there should be a limit, just like how there's an age. You got to be, I think, 40 or 42 or 45 to run for president. There should be a limit of, man, 80 years old or something, 75 years old to be president of the United States. Once you hit that mark, you shouldn't be president.
They have the audacity to question Donald Trump's mental stability during his 2016 campaign. Okay, but then look what you just put in.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like Biden all of a sudden just became cuckoo and whack job. Like, no, he's been that way since his inception of his presidency, and that's who you put up.
You know what oh my God, I'll be so looking forward to, even though it might be done behind a TV screen and Trump will be in the feds. Could you imagine a one-on-one debate with Donald Trump and Joe Biden?
See, this is what really made me mad at the last debate, was because I think Donald Trump could have won much more political points if he had just let Biden talk. A lot of the times in the last debate, he just overran everything that he said. He cut him off, and he just had to stand there.
But that's him. That's
right, right. And that's why I'm a little disappointed in Donald Trump for not attending these debates, because I want to see, have you learned? Because at the end of the day, we want a president that's going to be better tomorrow than he was today.
I don't think he's learned.
I don't think so either.
No, you're not. You're not gonna teach an old dog new trick, especially him.
No, I don't think so. But in the power of a debate, someone needs to be able to, because he's not going to win like this. Where it's because in my opinion, we don't need someone that is as divisive right now. Our country is crumbling under divisiveness. And if we get a country with a great economy, but we're ripping each other's throats out, are they a good president?
Right.
And that's where my thing is you can be someone that brings great economy, great immigration policy, but you also need to unite us.
Oh man, look what's going on with the immigration. Dude, Title 42 got taken out. New York's finally feeling how it is to be a border town, and they don't want the immigrants over there. And there's more coming.
Yeah, I always say this. We just talked about this. If you don't want immigrants in your state, why did you become a sanctuary state? Mm-hmm. Why did you say to the whole world, bring your immigrants to me, bring them to California, bring them to New York, because at the end of the day, that's what you did.
Yeah, it's virtual signaling. We're the best. We'll help you out, but in reality, well, it's the Dems as always. They put on a show that they like the poor, they like this, but in reality, no, they're just rich elite people that will sit there and say they love you, but I don't want you to live next to me.
I think it was genius, busing them to all these different places, because at the end of the day, governors have to protect their state.
Absolutely.
They have an obligation, and it's easy for for these non-border states to say we're sanctuary. until you realize what that means.
Yeah, until you got to carry the load. In
Right.
New York now, if you listen to the mayor of New York speak and you didn't know who he was, you would swear he's a full-blown right-wing guy who doesn't like immigration. And it has nothing to do with not liking immigration. There's only so many people you could take on at one time.
Exactly. And my thing is why do illegal immigrants matter more than homeless Americans? I need someone to really answer that question.
I don't think they
Why
can.
do we have homeless Americans, homeless veterans
Yes.
in the streets of Los Angeles, pouring tens of thousands of gallons of human waste into our oceans every month? But then we're going to give money to these illegal people because they crossed our border illegally? Like, they're breaking the law, and we need to be able to send them back and not allow them here. This is what people need to really understand. During COVID really tested our country to the fullest. It tested our supply chain, our food supplies, and our medical capacities to be able to attend to people. When we have a country that's supposed to be the best country in the world having problems stocking your grocery shelves, that is a problem. In California, we're running low on water, I feel like every other month. And you want more people to come to this country? At what point do we break these systems because we can no longer keep up? And it's not a distant, thing in the future. This is reality today.
Right. No, Title 42 was actually a genius move. It was a great strategy by Trompito to sit there and say, for people who don't know, you're going to wait at the border, but you're going to wait on that side of the border until you get amnesty. When they pulled Title 42, what that did now, that opened up the floodgates for anybody to come and say, I want amnesty, and they got to let them in while they're fighting that amnesty. But that amnesty is going to take 4 years.
Right, and they're long gone into the United States at that point. And I'm not trying to say, we need to have a closed border and not allow anybody in. But at the end of the day, we have so many people here undocumented that it's really concerning for the public. You see these crimes happening, you see drugs pouring in, and at the end of the day, like Trump said it, they're not sending their best to our country. A lot of them, yes, they want a better life, and I empathize with them, and I wish we could give that to them. We can, if you follow the proper procedures.
I think where Trump screwed up was on that speech when he said all that, because because I did break down that speech. So people say he never said certain. I was like, yeah, he did. If it was any other race, he wouldn't have said it. I don't think he would have said, oh, the African Americans are doing this or something or another, or, but when it comes to Latinos, I think that's why so many Latinos just said F Donald Trump, because he started his campaign pretty much stepping, to me, on the heads of Latinos and kept walking where he didn't have to do that, I think. And I think he would have got a lot more support, which he's kind of getting now, because people are now like, well, yeah, he's an asshole, but do I want this brain dead manager, or I want this manager that we can get our business back in track?
Right. One of the things that I really liked, because I'm a straight shooter. I'm just going to tell you what I'm thinking, and I'm not going to be a dick about it.
Be a dick about it.
But Trump would just say it. And at the end of the day, our country's falling to the ground with all of the policies that Democrats have put in place. We have the drugs coming in. We have our economy that's not doing as great, our supply chain, our medical. Think about this. Just think about this. We have American citizens living in shipment containers built for houses when just 35, 40 years ago, men and women could afford a home on a single income.
Yeah.
This is what Democrat policies do to a country. We are falling at the knees, and to me, we need someone that's not going to be the nicest and prettiest about it. But at the end of the day, I think the things that Donald Trump said was not the nicest. It pissed off a lot of people. But if you flash forward 8 years, 7 years now, 6 years, I think, you have more conservatives coming to support him.
Yes.
And I think it's because he took the book and he threw it down and said, this is the truth.
Right.
And you might not like it, but this is the truth.
Fair enough, man, because I work construction and I work with a lot of, compas, and even them, I say, hey, who you want? I'm going for Trump. I'm like, the hell, fool, you're illegal. Allegedly. Illegal. Hey, with that, man, Frank, I would like to send you an invite to come back on the show and just talk straight politics. We don't even have to talk the glitter mafia. I want you to look over there at the camera, let people know where they can find you, where they can send that hate mail.
Oh, for sure.
and what you got going on, they can support you. And then as soon as you know if you're going to be running for that seat, let us know, man. We'll support you in any way we can as well.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Frank Rodriguez, Info Savage on all platforms. You can look me up. I have a BFM podcast with my gay counterparts. sorts. I look forward to, reading the hate mail from everyone. And I definitely have a website, frankrodriguezshow.com. And I'll see you guys all there.
There
Much
you
love.
go. All right, guys. We will see you maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We're out. All right, Chris, take us out. Good stuff, man.
That was good. That was really good. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. We'll take a nice picture.